Welcome to the Big Me Kickoff. I'm your host, Kevin Noon. It is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. Sorry for the delay off the top of the show. I had a call come in and I had to take care of something and was given a timeline of about 5 minutes to get it done. So we got that taken care of. So now you've got me for at least the next 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. We will see how the show goes. You guys really control the live shows with your comments, questions, feedback, whatever you've got. So if I'm getting a lot of feedback, show goes to 2 hours sometimes. If I'm not, maybe we'll get done in 20 or 30 minutes. Been a minute since we've talked, so I am glad that we have managed to connect on this. I'm just trying to get a couple of little things, housekeeping things done as we are at an interesting point of the year. Basketball is done. Ohio State lost in the NIT in the third round to UGA in a thrilling game that Georgia played better. I mean, let's be honest. Georgia played better for the full 40 minutes. Ohio State had spurts late in the game, but we got it. We got it done. Let me just get this up. There, just to get somebody off of my rear end over things. But spring practice, we are 6 practices in, and we have 9 more to go. Of course, this weekend we have the student appreciation practice, which is a godsend in some ways because you are able to go and shoot an entire practice. So that is good. The bad is that it is very crowded on the indoor field at the Woody with several hundred students who go. And I'm not saying don't let the students go. I'm just saying that we are not necessarily in the best position to shoot everything the way that it is set up. I'm sure some of that is by design, but we will have a lot of comments coming out of that because we get to watch a full practice. It's one of 2 full practices that we do get to watch. We will also get to watch a practice on the 12th of April, which is the day before the spring game. And then, of course, we have the spring game. I want to thank our friends at No Naturals for being part of the show. I'm going to take the banner off for a second just so I have the copy in front of me because I don't know where I put my sheet. I don't have this largely memorized, but I don't have it memorized. So I'm going to read it from what I have on the banner, and then I'll put the scroll back up, and then we can just get on with everything. But are you ready for an entirely different edible experience? Welcome to No Naturals, where we're shattering the stereotype of one-note, slow-acting gummies. Forget waiting over an hour to feel the effects. Our gummies are like a sprinter out of the blocks, fast-acting in just 15 to 30 minutes. Picture this. You're not just choosing your flavor, you're choosing your vibe. With 5 core experiences and 6 custom combos, you're in full control. Whether it's energy and focus without the crash, a peaceful slumber that lasts all night, or game-changing burst of bliss and euphoria, these edibles are the real deal. And the best part? You don't need a doctor's recommendation. No natural gummies are dispensary quality and discreetly delivered right to your door. So whether you're craving a productivity boost, a good night's sleep, or some blissful euphoria, say hello to No Naturals. Try them today and use code HUDDLE10 for 10% off your order at shop.nonaturals.com. Know your experience. No Naturals. I don't remember what the last line is. I don't have it on here because I only get 900. I only get 1,000 characters to use, and the whole read went a little bit longer. But now we got that taken care of. So we can kind of move forward. Let me go through some of the hellos as we get into the show. Tookie G dropping a football and saying afternoon nutters. Ohio bookseller who's reached out to me several times on via email waits my dulcet tone, so I appreciate that. Odysseus dropping an OH and Tones dropping an IO. Mika, longtime friend of the show. Hello, good morning, everyone. Go Bucks. El Suzabo is around, but working, so I'm assuming she is working on her jewelry as that is her passion right now. We need to get her passion to sign up for Buckeye Huddle. And she's told me, we've talked about this a little bit, that it's very easy to become a little bit of a time suck, but it's Ohio State and it helps us out. So check us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com. All the greatest team coverage, recruiting coverage, Tom, Tony, and myself available at all hours on the message board, not just for a live show here on YouTube, but at all hours to answer your questions, comments, give you recommendations on places to eat, whatever. Mark Givler with recruiting coverage, and then our team of experts led by Ross Fulton, giving you X's and O's to make you a smarter football fan. So all of that at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Give us a look there. I know we've had several members of our podcasting community who have come on board over to the website and have never looked back. They really enjoy it. So I urge everybody else to. Ed Rogers, I will get to this question here in a minute about the portal. A lot of hellos going on. Mika Hanna wants to know a bit about Boggs. We will get to that in a minute. I'm throwing that in the queue as we're going on here. We got Ohio Bookseller. My eyes are just not doing well today. I see and hear a lot of speculation. Does anyone really know anything about the running back coach hire? We'll get to that here in a minute. I'm going to mark a couple of these that we're just going to get to. Stephen Cherry saying hello. How's it going, Stephen? There's another question I want to get to. Rick S would like some blissful euphoria. I use the No Naturals and I really enjoy them. I need something to help me sleep. A lot on my mind at all various times. So having a little sleep aid and here's the thing. Not to get too much into a commercial, but I like to drink. I like a beer now and then. I really do. Shocking. But I don't like waking up feeling crummy. And when I sit there and I take a gummy to help me sleep, I wake up and I feel fresh. And that's really the biggest thing for me. Now, I know not everybody has a job where they can sit there and do this because these are full spectrum. So I mean, these are not THC. These are CBD, CBN. I'm not an expert on the field, so I don't. Not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. That's not my role. But some people are just not going to have a job situation of where that works, and I understand, and it is what it is. But for me, it works out really well. It's better than taking a sleeping pill or certainly having 6 or 7 beers. I did have 4 or 5 beers last night after the Ohio State men's basketball game. Went out with a couple of other writers. We used to, years and years ago, would go to a certain bar on campus after basketball games. We decided we wanted to do that once because this year had been such a weird year, just to kind of round out the year. So we went to Little Bar on campus. $3 drafts. God, I miss college. Had a good time, but we'll go there. Rick S. again, that blissful euphoria could also be the name of a highly rated recruit. I mean, I don't know a lot of people with the last name of Euphoria, as in a grand total of 0. But, blissful could be a name. Maybe not a name I would roll with. Blissful Noon doesn't necessarily have a great ring to it. I don't want to get any nicknames started here, so don't call me Blissful. But there you go. Let's get here. Paul saying Judkins going back to Ole Miss. There's some jackwagon that's posting that on Twitter, but no. Mom shut down the rumor. I think with Caden Proctor leaving Iowa after a cup of coffee to go back to Alabama has people with, going back home on the mind. But no, that's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's just so we talked about that there a little bit. I mean, and Paul said that was a rumor about Judkins. I'm shutting that rumor down right now. People that put those rumors out, not people who repeat them, because you don't know. I mean, a lot of stuff comes out of message boards and ends up being true. So I'm not here to ever get really mad at somebody and be like, I can't believe you're repeating that. You're repeating what you're hearing or reading. But it's not from a trusted source. It's from some slappy. And I mean, he has been summarily had the shit kicked out of him on Twitter. So let him say whatever. He's been wrong more than he's been right. So, it is what it is. Let's just keep going on here. What about $2 pitchers of Keystone at Lido's on Wednesday nights along with karaoke? I don't need to be around for karaoke, let me tell you that. And it's not because I'm going to feel this urge to go sing. It's going to be because I don't want to listen to other people trying to sing these songs. And you're going to have people who are going to be very good at it. And then you're going to have people that are going to be very bad at it. And I don't have the patience for the people who are very bad at it. So, and I'm really not a Keystone fan. I just, in college, was it better than some of the crap beers we were drinking? Yeah. Yeah. And I know that there was, and I missed out on when this was kind of a marketing thing. You could get like a box of Stones, 30 Stones for whatever it was. But Keystone came out very much at the end of my collegiate run. And I'm not going to say that I went into my first job and suddenly had money to be able to afford all the finest imported beers, but I did not go any lower than drinking Mill Beast in college or shortly after that. Let's go here a little bit more. I'm gonna mark some more, and we'll just kind of get through them. Let's just get all right. I think we're kind of caught up with what I have to get through, and I have 11 comments starred at this point, so we'll start working through these again. Be sure to jump in with your questions and comments. The more that we have there, the longer the show goes. Super chats always go to the head of the line. Just how it works. Pay for play. Think of it as Buckeye Huddle NIL. So super chats go to the head of the line. I know we're kind of in a slow season right now, in some regards, and everybody gets very excited for spring, and a lot of news comes out with spring football, even though we've only seen 2 of them at this point. But it's it's a little bit of a slower time. But I promise that I'm gonna stay on a regular schedule here, just so we don't see the lull of people having to refine the show either around Southern Swing or fall camp or whatever we may have there. So that's my promise to you all. But let's go here to the top of the ones that I've starred, and I will keep adding them as I see them too. I'm gonna flip between pages. Ed Rogers wants to know, what do we need from the portal? Well, I think that you still want to get an offensive tackle. And is that a case of that you need an offensive tackle because they don't have one to play opposite of Josh Simmons? I think Ohio State needs more game-ready depth to begin with. Now, we've certainly heard a lot of good things about Josh Fryer having one of the best off seasons of anybody on the team. And the proof is in seeing, and we haven't had a chance to see, but I don't have any reason to doubt this. There's this. We're not hearing unrealistic, unreasonable platitudes about anything with that. So, with that being said, you may not be able to go out and get like the top tackle who emerges in the portal, in the post-spring portal, but let's be realistic. The post-spring portal is a thinner market than the other portal market. And the reason I say that is I think a lot of your players that are looking to move up, that maybe played at a group of 5 school, looking to go to a Power 5 school or whatever you may have, enter that portal, the earlier portal, so they have spring with their team. Guys are going to have spring with their old team that go into the spring portal, but that doesn't necessarily help you in terms of chemistry and everything else that you need in regards to an offensive line unit playing as one. As a receiver, you have to be able to do certain things, but you're responsible for running your own routes. You're responsible for going out there and blocking and everything. Offensive line has to move in unison. You can't just be out there wildcat. Oh, look at me. I'm a left tackle. I'm out here wildcatting, doing whatever the hell I want. That's not how that position works. So coming in the summer when you're not necessarily having team activities, how do you gel with your teammates prior to the start of fall? And I'll hang up and listen on that one because I'm not sure how that happened. So I think that was part of the reason why Josh Simmons had some issues at first, because he was in the spring portal. He didn't have spring at Ohio State. So here we go. We have to thrust you into a tackle position because our recruiting, this is Ohio State speaking, our recruiting didn't live up to expectations there. Certain players haven't panned out for one reason or another, and we got to put you in there. And then he struggles some. Now, for Josh, he's had a good offseason, I think, from what I've been told. And I think we're going to see him pick up from where he was at the end of the year, where he was playing at a pretty good level. Was he all Big Ten? No. Does he have the potential of being all Big Ten? Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're talking about potential. We're not saying anything, crazy or beyond that. So long-winded answer. I think you get somebody who gives you some depth, because Ohio State 1-5 on the offensive line, I believe, is going to be fine. I believe Ohio State certainly has a 6th and a 7th lineman wherever Luke Montgomery fits in. I think you got something there. I mean, I think that we're going to see somebody else step into a bigger role as well. But I certainly think that Ohio State would feel better having 8 deep, in the 8 game ready type of players. So you have somebody or somebody's that are able to play guard and tackle. You have somebody who can snap the ball well as your backup center. I think you certainly have that as, if Seth McLaughlin wins the center job, Carson Hinsman behind him has shown that he can play at this level. I mean, I think Carson did a good job, all things considered, last year. He, not a center by trade. He, quick study, having to learn. I mean, I think we can go through a lot of tape and say, well, he should have done this or should have done that. I mean, I can't. I didn't play the position. I don't know, what I'm supposed to be telling you to do. But you know what I'm saying. So long-winded answer, Ed. I think that offensive line, yes, there are going to be people who are going to throw out. I saw somebody throw out tight end. I mean, Ohio State is 5 deep or so right now. They're bringing in 2 in summer who did not get to enroll early with Demarion Witten and Max LeBlanc. So they'll be 7 deep. You're not going to go out and get somebody who's going to just step right into that. There's not going to be a fully developed Cade Stover looking to transfer coming out of spring. That's just not how it necessarily works. The vast majority of these kids are kids that did not get the starting role at their current school and are leaving to try and find a greener pasture, if you will. Now, there are going to be some kids, for whatever reason, I'm going to give this new coach spring and see if I like them. I don't like them, I'm out of here. I mean, there could be some things like that. So never say that there's not going to be some frontline players in the spring portal, but that is generally not what the spring portal is about. So we'll see. We'll see. Let me get there. I'm keeping an eye on the ones that we're getting here. I'm adding to my list, but we got that one done. Mika wants to know what caused Jevin Boggs to decommit. Short answer, that's unknown. I mean, I think it comes down to a kid is going to say, well, I slept on it. I prayed on it. I talked to people. I committed too early. I have nothing but love for the school that I decommitted from. I'm still going to consider them. But, I don't know if we have a concrete answer. And I don't know. I mean, even he could go out and give a super quote. And that doesn't necessarily mean that is the reason. There are 3 sides to every story. And, there's what you're saying and what it really is. And I mean, so I think some of it is just a matter of he just committed early. I mean, I think he does like Ohio State, but I think he also probably sees a room that is kind of crazy talented. And that's not to say that Boggs couldn't compete. He could absolutely compete. but not everybody's going to want to do that. And let's cool our jets before anybody's like, well, Noon's saying he's afraid of competition. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's potential. I mean, we don't know exactly what's going on. But if there's a position that Ohio State can absorb something like this, it's going to be receiver. Ohio State in pretty good shape with Jamie French. Ohio State has an opportunity, not saying it's happening. So let's not, go nuts on this of flipping like DeCarrion Moore from LSU. Ohio State is in on like Khalid Lockhart. I mean, there are a lot of players. I mean, Nashawn Montgomery from South Florida. I mean, there are a lot of names out there that Ohio State can continue to pursue. And I mean, we're not even talking about in-state guys like a Preston Bowman out of Pick North or whatever. And I don't know necessarily, what the board looks like outside of the top couple of players, but I like Preston Bowman a lot. I like him a lot, and I think that is something that you have to keep warm as long as you can. But again, I don't know. It's just a tough year to be. I mean, it's just a tough era to be a receiver wanting to go to Ohio State if you're not in a national top 12 receiver. So, we'll see. We'll see. Let me scroll down here a little bit more as I get too long-winded on some answers, and I'm glad I plugged in the computer before we started the show. Hold on a second. Hold on. Had to get the dog to stop chewing on the coffee table. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. The dog is chewing on the coffee table, so I had to yell at the dog to get that to stop. Wow, bookseller, I see and hear a lot of speculation. Does anyone really know anything about the running back coach hire? Here's the thing: is covering something like that is all going to be speculation because Ohio State is not going to be transparent about these are our top 3 candidates that we're looking at. You don't put that kind of stuff out there. And when you're doing this type of search, I mean, out of respect to the candidate, you don't necessarily want to be able to put them in a weird spot with where they are. I mean, it's like when Ross Bjork said that they talked to 50 coaches or representatives of coaches before hiring Jake Diebler. I'm sure that there is a lot of interest in being the Ohio State running backs coach. Now, with that being said, Ohio State has probably identified several targets that have then gone on and signed new deals with their current employers at higher dollar figures or whatever. And that's how it works. So, long story short, I don't want to date myself in this show and just suddenly, put 3 names out and 6 hours later somebody's listening on replay, or 3 days later somebody's listening on replay, and all 3 of those names have dried up. I know that over at Buckeye Huddle we do have a thread about the running back coach search, and things do get updated there. And I think I'm just more comfortable leaving some of that stuff kind of behind the wall. And again, I urge everybody to check us out at Buckeye Huddle to get that kind of stuff, because again, too, we got to keep something over there. What am I signing up for if Kevin's going to just say everything on his show? Can't have that. I got to eat. I got bills to pay. I got bills to pay. So I got to protect myself a little bit there. Let me go through what we have live right now just to see that I'm not missing anything. Odysseus asking what kind of dog it is. It is a corgi, a fluffy corgi, which is actually the you have a cardigan and a Pembroke, and you breed them together, and you get like a fluffy corgi. I mean, and I'm not a animal sciences guy or whatever. I don't know if every corgi that comes out of that litter is going to be what's considered a fluffy corgi, but they have a fluffier, longer coat than a corgi, and somehow miraculously they don't shed as much, but they still shed a lot. Eric wants to know the dog's name. The name of the dog is Margot. I am not in charge of naming animals here, but that is the name I was informed that the dog was going to be named. So there you go. Let me get back to some of the recorded or some of the questions I have in the queue. Odysseus, I hear Caleb Downs cloned himself, and the clone is at Ohio State practice, while Caleb transferred to Bama. Bama and TCU and fan logic. Yeah, there's just a lot of dumb shit out there. I mean, there really is. Again, it goes back to Caden Proctor bucked a trend, went back to Bama, and now everybody's worried about everybody else happening. We've certainly seen some of the national types going out there and saying, "Oh, just wait until the spring portal starts. Craziness will ensue," and everybody assumes that it is talking about your own school. And could Ohio State see some portal craziness? I think Ohio State could lose a quarterback. I think Ohio State could lose a couple of things. But it's not going to necessarily be a case of like Ohio State is not going to lose somebody who is a penciled in starter this year. That's just not going to happen. We're not going to see that kind of stuff. So yeah, to Odysseus's point, Twitter has kind of been a little bit of a cesspool out there in terms of all of that, but some of you Ohio State fans are complicit, and here's how: you respond and empower these trolls to continue with their trolling ways. They do it to get a rise, and when they get a rise, they are successful. So the best thing to do is ignore it. Rules for thee, not for me. I understand this. I fall victim to I see something so stupid on Twitter that I have to sit there and come in over from the top rope with a flying elbow to tell the person how stupid they are. And I then am part of the problem. So we should all take an oath right there to not deal with that. Rod Favre, I'm not going to punch it up, says that Twitter's mostly bots now. I don't use any other social media platform. I don't use Insta. I don't use anything else. If Twitter were to ever really go away, then I probably would not have much of a social media presence because I just don't want to learn any of the other ones. Oh, Kevin, you're showing your age. No, I just don't. Insta does nothing for me because that's picture based, I think, from what I see, because that's where you post what you have for dinner. And I don't want to have a picture on every single thing. I just sometimes want to hit and run and make a post. I just sometimes want to just, say something and be done with it. So, yeah. But I digress. Let's get here. Drowsy Dragon. Who will make a bigger impact this season, Downs or Jeremiah? That, I'm going to say Caleb Downs, and hear me out on this one. And this is a reason why I think it's the case. And that is because Caleb Downs steps into a role that is, that had no incumbent with the departure of Josh Proctor. He steps into that last defensive back role. Jeremiah, who is a freak, who is going to be a player that you will be saying in 40 years, I remember watching Jeremiah Smith when he was at Ohio State, when he was in college. And let me tell you, he was William Wallace with with lightning bolts, out of his arse and whatever. But I think that with the receiver room, there is more there around him to where Jeremiah isn't necessarily going to have to be the guy. Whereas with Caleb, now I understand that, Caleb takes a role that would have, gone to like a Malik Hartford or somebody like that. And I think Malik Hartford is going to have a fantastic Ohio State career. But I do think that bringing in a player who was SEC Freshman of the Year, this, that, the other, where he was on, All-America lists, putting him there versus a player who's still very early in their journey, I think that there is a much wider variance there. And with that variance, I think that's where we get to the term impactful that Drowsy Dragon uses, as opposed to Jeremiah, who by all indications should be a first, a day one starter. But when you have a Mecca, when you have Carnell, when you have Brandon Ennis, when you've got these guys in the room, I don't know if, I used the term variance before. I don't know if the variance is going to be as wide. So that's why I feel that it will be Caleb, but I don't necessarily know if, I could have, I could be up for debate there. Shane says that he thinks Jahad Carter could be really good at the safety spot too. Yeah, I mean, you forget about Jahad. He got dinged up last spring and then just never really got back on track. He's certainly in the mix. And here's the thing, everybody's going to have to do some rotating. It's just what it's going to be. It's 16 game season, 17 if you have to go the long way and play a round one game. You're going to have depth. You're going to have to give your guys some rest. And that doesn't mean, load management. LeBron will not be playing against the Milwaukee Bucks due to load management. No, if you're a guy and you're able to go, you're going to play in every game. But are you going to see 60 snaps or are you going to see 35 snaps? And if you save 25 snaps in 4 or 5 games, that's 125 plays that you have not subjected your body to whatever. And I think that goes a long way. Now we know injuries happen. It's, it's a 1-in-1. I mean, you could play a million plays or one play. If you roll the dice incorrectly, you could get hurt on one play. But it's like, trying to think of the right term. I was going to make a Russian roulette comment, but that's a little dark. I think it's important for Ohio State to be able to get some of the young guys in there in high leverage situations, because the thing too is that when you have, yes, you're going to have 2 years of Caleb Downs, but you're going to lose Lathan Ransom. You're going to lose some of these other guys. You don't want to be looking at 25, which a lot of people have said could be the closest thing to a rebuilding year that Ohio State has seen in a while, just based on what the roster looks like. The way you combat that is to make sure that some of your young guys, you get to the end of the year and you realize that they've had 225 snaps and that a lot of it has not just been garbage time against an opponent who's just trying to get the hell out of there, get their Donatos and get on the bus and get home. So we'll see. Let me get it here. So we've done that one. Let's get to here. Sean, I hope we get a running back coach soon. Bo Jackson and Davis are visiting Michigan. Yeah, it is the case, and that's going to happen. And there's certainly a relationship with Bo Jackson and Marquise Davis and Tony Alford. But these are Ohio kids, and Ohio State is still Ohio State. And what's not going to happen is Ohio State's not going to roll without a running back coach this year. I promise you that. But do you get to a point of spring ball to where it's like nobody is really willing to move until they get through their spring practice? We've made it halfway through spring ball. Let me finish this out, because if you sit there and you take another job somewhere else, you're like, but I'm going to finish out spring where I'm at. No, this is kind of like when you get walked out, and I hope nobody ever gets walked out. But when you get walked out in a job where, all right, we're letting you go, you can't go back to your office. We'll have security box your crap up, and it'll be on the street in 45 minutes. If you're going to another program, you're done. Turn off your card key, turn off all of that stuff. Leave your playbook, leave your cell phone. We'll mail you your last check. You're not going to get to finish anything out. Now, with Ohio State having some of these visits on tap for Bo Jackson and for people who want to hear more about 2025 running back recruiting, check out a recent edition of the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast where I joined Mark Givler and we talked about 2025 quarterback or running backs and 2026 quarterbacks on that show. So check out that show here on youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. So to Sean's point, it's coming. It's coming. But is it you really could hurt yourself by rushing to throw somebody in the position. Well, hell, it's just a couple days away from April 1st. We better hurry up and get somebody in here, and you get the wrong guy. And I understand that these contracts aren't worth the paper they're printed on because of, schools have deep pockets for buyouts and everything else. But you're not going to bring in somebody just to try. You sit there, let's say you bring in somebody just and the kid, the recruit really likes this guy. Now you're kind of stuck with him for a year or two, because if you sit there and you bait and switch him, he's going to get pissed off. He's going to get pissed off at you. Well, I really like Coach Doe, and you got rid of him after I'd committed. That's shady AF. So it's going to happen, and I'm not saying Sean is saying that it's never going to happen. It's going to happen in its own time cycle. Whoops. I already did that one. Here we go. Jordan Kapler, when is Tom Moore leaving Buckeye Huddle? Can we start that rumor? I don't see Tom here. I'd like to know where Tom Moore is right now. He's probably recording another podcast. That's on you, Jordan. I am not going to have any part of that one because I'm just not. Because we will get to, I guess 2026 will be my year again. God willing, we're all still doing this in 2026. And I just don't need that to roll downhill on me. David Whalen would like to get an update as to when Michigan finally gets punished for cheating. There has been talk that Michigan has responded to its notice of allegations on the cheeseburger. Now, we're not talking the Connor Stallion sign stealing, everything else. No letter of, no infractions notice has been issued on that one yet. But the cheeseburger has. And Michigan has a clock to where it has to respond, and then, things kind of go from there. I'm still of the mindset April, May is kind of the sweet spot in the calendar of where I think something happens there, but there's not, nothing is baked into this as to where it has to happen by XYZ date. If you have not done this by XYZ date, we will seize all your assets and throw your ass in jail. That's not how this works. So I was told late spring, and that's kind of where I'm going to maintain at this point. We'll punch that one off. Shane wants to know if I think that Ohio State be aggressive in the spring portal or focus on retention. As I said earlier, the spring portal is not necessarily the deepest portal that you get. It is the other portal that is where Ohio State landed Julian Sayin, is where Ohio State landed Caleb Downs and Seth McLaughlin and guys like that. So there will be an emphasis on retention, but I think Ohio State also is going to have conversations with some guys who opportunity may not knock on their door while they're at Ohio State. And the fairest thing that you can do for some guys is to give them all of the information that they need to make the right decision. And there will be players that if you want to play college football, you're going to probably have to do it somewhere else. And that's an ugly statement on the surface, but it is a fair statement. It is a fair statement rather than being like, well, just hang around. And selfishly for Ohio State needs to clear room to be able to land players. If you get to, the summer enrollees have not enrolled yet, but Ohio State has got to maintain 85. So you do need to clear out space. It is a business in a lot of ways. So to Shane's question, it's going to be more on retention, but I don't think anybody that is really in the mix for serious playing time is an issue, but it's that next cut of players. The You're good enough to play, and we would play you if we didn't have a guy who was 40% better than you right now. But we know by next year you're going to be the guy. Those are the guys you've got to maintain. That's where retention is going to be, and I think a lot of effort is going to have to be put there. I think Ohio State, in terms of the spring portal, can kind of look and see what's out there. I'm not going to say that Ohio State doesn't get anybody, but I think there's a greater chance that Ohio State takes 0 players out of the spring portal than Ohio State takes more than 2. I think that there's a better chance that Ohio State takes 0 plays out of the portal than Ohio State takes more than 1, honestly, in my opinion. I think they could take 1, be it a tackle or somebody like that. Now, with that being said, Ohio State also could come out of the spring and realize, hey, we're not as good as we thought at XYZ position. And then Ohio State would have to address that. But the plane is still gaining altitude in terms of spring, and we're trying to talk about where they may go once it touches down and lands. We got a lot of ground to cover before then. So really good question, but not a definitive answer that I can put there, other than I think it's going to be more on the retention side. Let me punch that one off. Tom is getting all the hammers right now. If the Mets finish with a worse record than the Dodgers, will Kevin slap Tom? Well, we know that the Mets will finish with a worse record than the Dodgers, but I only wake up and choose violence every once in a while. I don't need to wake up and choose violence every day. And I got to travel with this guy. And he may turn around and slap me when I'm not paying attention. So, no, I will just continue to laugh at him and the Mets as I normally do. Aaron Taylor, I'm taking these a little bit out of order, so if you haven't seen your question yet and I told you I punched it in, have no fears. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I kind of try to break up topics a little bit just to keep the show moving a little bit better. I don't want to ask questions that are similar on top of each other. I mean, it's just whatever. He's saying the best quarterback in the room. Any chance he sees some playing time? Is he better than guys that have played like a lot of college, like Will Howard, some college, like Devin Brown, a little college, like Lincoln Keenholz? There are various levels that we could look at this from. Is Julian Sayin the most talented quarterback? Does he have the most talent? I think that's something easier to get to, because talent is one thing, but then you have to have practice and execution and everything else to really achieve your goals. You can sit there and show all of the talent early and still not be in line for the playing time. Now, I think something that's important here is Ohio State has to fly through the eye of the needle here at quarterback. Ohio State is not going to have 5 scholarship quarterbacks going into the Akron game, in my opinion. And if it does, that's a hell of a sell job. If it does, then, bully for them. I think you're going to get down to 4. I think you're going to see somebody leave. I'm not putting anybody in particular in the portal. 1, because that's bull. And 2, because we don't know. Everybody can speculate, and that's fine. But I try not to, because it's really easy to then take a clip out of the show, out of context, and be like, well, Noon is saying this. Well, you cut out the first 45 seconds of what I said there to shape the narrative of what you wanted me to say. So I'm not going to do that. But I think Julian Sayin is an incredible talent. I think Aaron Noland is an incredible talent as well. Coming out of Saturday's scrimmage, Julian Sayin had himself a day by all accounts. And I think that's why there's certainly a lot of talk from Aaron and others about where does Julian fit into things. Julian seeing playing time this year seems realistic to me. Now, he could see playing time and maintain his red shirt. He could see 4 games to where he gets to come in and play a good chunk of action and maintain the red shirt. Now, I'm not a big red shirt fan. When you are Ohio State and you redshirt a player, you're redshirting him 99% of the time for his next stop, for his next school. Because you're redshirting him to not start his clock, but you're also not having this reaction of, well, he's a 3 and done anyway, so we may as well get, as much as we can out of him before we lose him. But quarterback is a little bit different. I'm sorry, my eyes are just really bothering me today. Quarterback's a little bit of a different position because you're not rolling guys in and out. You could sit there and play multiple corners and multiple safeties and multiple ends and multiple receivers and multiple running backs and multiple linebackers and so on and so on and so on. If you got 2 starting quarterbacks, you don't have one. I mean, you don't want to get into a position of where you have a largely inexperienced room and you're trying to get everybody a turn. That's not going to work. Now, you have to find a balance there because on the flip side, you have where Ohio State has been. We have to play more Justin Fields because he hasn't played a lot of football. We have to play more CJ Stroud because we're trying to win him a Heisman. And then you don't get any experience for anybody else. And then you get to this point in whatever year, and it's like, well, here we are again. Here we are again. A room full of quarterbacks and a combined 31 pass attempts or whatever. So you've got to figure out the right way to get your starter as much time to be able to play the long game. And the long game means 16 games and hoisting the trophy at the end of the whole shooting match. And finding time for your backups. And that doesn't mean all of them. Let's say Ohio State goes into the year with 4, goes into the season with 4. There's not a scenario of where you're going to have equal time for the other 3 guys. I guess there is if that equal time is 0. I mean, you have to kind of figure out what your long-range plans look like and everything else. So I think that Julian Sayin should see some playing time. I think Julian Sayin is playing for the backup role at this point. I mean, honestly, as of today, he is playing for the starting position. They all are. This isn't, he hasn't been assigned to the minor league camp as we're a day away from the start of Major League Baseball. He's not been reassigned to Rancho Cucamonga. He is still in the Major League camp. But once we kind of take that lens off, he's competing for the 2. That is what he is competing for. And depending on who the 1 is, I mean, might dictate who the 2 is. But, he and Noland are definitely competing for that, that spot. Because in their competition, you can't sit there and say, well, we got 3 and 3A. I mean, it's just not how it works. You can't sit there and say, well, we're going to bring in all of our 3 quarterbacks at the same time. Well, I mean, you can. That's an interesting thought, having more than 1 quarterback on the field. I'd rather see Ohio State go out there and bash an opponent than do something really funky. But I think you get my point. I think you get my point at that with all of that. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything else. I have several more questions to get to. Don't get me wrong, but I spend time talking about certain things and I miss stuff in the live portion of the chat. Eric says that my dog looks like me, a bulldog. No, it's got big ears. Dog has brown eyes, as do I. Dog has whiskers. I do sometimes. I'm pretty lazy about shaving. I need to get better on that. But no, no, no. The dog isn't nearly as ugly as me. Here we go. Gary Thomas asking, and again, this was something similar to earlier, but I wanted to separate it so I could take another bite of the apple. If you heard anything about Michigan's reply to the notice of allegations, it's been 3 months, and that's the time they had to respond. I heard a rumor that they did reply, and then it's just not out. That it's not been leaked, it's not out there. Do I believe that rumor? I don't have any reason not to believe it. I don't have any reason to believe it. I still think that we will see this run its cycle April, May. But to Gary's point, yeah, we're in that window of where we should be hearing something. But we're not at the final step. Michigan has their reply. And then the NC2A has whatever its time is. I don't think there's a time on how long the NC2A can noodle on that. So even if as we're recording this, it were to come out, that still could be 6, 8, 10 weeks before we know something. And honestly, if you're looking at this from the lens of an Ohio State fan who just wants to see no good happen for Michigan, it happening today versus it happening in 2 weeks versus it happening in 6 weeks doesn't really change anything other than what we're talking about on Twitter today. But Gary, it should be soon. I mean, it could have happened and we just don't know it yet. But I did have somebody who I talked to who said that they thought that it was out, that it happened, but nobody had been able to get their hands on it. And with the departure of Jim Harbaugh, who really was a serial leaker, doesn't seem that Sharon Moore is as much of a serial leaker. And that could change how news is reported as well. Harbaugh liked to get things out there and then make really weird, odd comments about it. We don't know what Sharon Moore's move is other than crying. So, I don't know. I don't have a great read on that one yet, but we'll see. I'll follow up with what Mike has here, and then I'll get back to the pinned ones. If Michigan isn't punished, what is stopping every other team from cheating? I'll hang up and listen, because that's the point. If you deem that it broke the rules and you do nothing, then it's fair game. Because then if you get popped, if Southeastern Nova Scotia State does it and gets popped, and then they get punished, oh boy, you didn't punish Michigan. Why are you punishing us? I thought it was all well and good. So you have to do something. And of course, there are going to be the people who are going to be like, well, Jim Harbaugh is in LA now, and this coach is in Seattle, and this coach is wherever. Breaking the rules is breaking the rules is breaking the rules. I understand that there's interpretation for punishments and everything else, and I don't necessarily want to say leniency. I'm not going to get into any of that, but if all of the perps skip town, it's kind of hard to hold certain people to things. But there's going to be punishment. I can't tell you exactly what it is. I promise I will get to the pinned ones here in a second. Chuck McFarland, is it pop or soda in Columbus? Doesn't matter what it is in Columbus. The correct term is soda. But I'm from California, and where I'm from, it is a soda area. We are in pop land. Like, pop is in, pretty much all of the state of Ohio. When you look at the maps, when they talk about is it pop or soda or Coke, we'll get into the Coke one in a second. This is pop area. So to the root of Chuck McFarland's question, it is pop. To the root of being correct, it is soda. And I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill. It is soda. And then in the South, it's Coke. You order a Coke, and then they ask you which flavor. I want a damn Coke. And I always forget when I'm down there, like, immediately. And because I'll go somewhere and I'll be like, yeah, I'll have a Coke. And then they're like, and then they'll go through, and then I realize, like, it's Pepsi. I'm like, well, first of all, I ordered a Coke. So if I wanted a Pepsi, I would have said I want a Pepsi. But I'll never want a Pepsi because Pepsi sucks. The only thing Pepsi has that I like is Mountain Dew. And just to add to confusion, the thoughts about Skyline bringing Coke in-house now. It has always been a Pepsi place, and I have always ordered Mountain Dew with my Skyline. With there being Coke there, I don't know how I'm going to respond to that. Yes, Kevin Chavis, soda is bad for you, and I don't do a great job of taking care of myself or anything. We know that, but I don't know what to think of Cokes going into Skyline restaurants. I may have to go to a Skyline here soon. I don't know. I don't know when the change is happening. I know I saw it on socials when it came out, but it needs to be Mountain Dew. That's just what it is. It just needs to be. It just has to be. But they didn't ask me, so I don't know. Uh, I'm just going to jump on this. The addiction of soda, the sugar can be tough to overcome. To me, I need to get like a Brita here or something like that to drink more water. We changed our refrigerator, and I've changed the filter in it several times. I just do not like the taste of our water here. So I don't drink as much water, and I don't like buying bottled water. And I'm not coming from a recycling standpoint. I'm not coming from a peace, love, dope or anything like that. Recycle, don't recycle. I don't care. You do you. But I don't like the idea of paying for bottled water. So if I don't have bottled water around somehow, I don't drink a lot of water. I mean, yeah, I guess I could put Mio in it or something like that. But if I got like a better filtration system or something, maybe I would drink more water. I don't know. I need to drink more water. I need to do a lot of things. I'm still 50 pounds above my quote unquote playing weight and everything else. This is the year I'm going to try and do more. We'll see. We'll see. People saying core water is good, Dasani is nasty. I don't I don't have a favorite water. I certainly don't. I like bought water at like Walmart or something like that. I don't particularly like that water. I don't think it tastes that great. We're talking about something that should be tasteless, and it it is not tasteless. I'll tell you that. But I don't go into like a 7-Eleven, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm only going to drink Core, or I'm only going to drink Fuji, or I'm only going to drink this one." I can't. Aquafina or death. I mean, no, I don't really care that much. I'm just generally not going to drink the one that looks like it was, like, gathered from the stream behind the 7-Eleven, the real sketchy one. I'm not. All right, let's get back to some of these other questions and comments. I addressed that one already. Let's get to Mika, who wants to talk a little recruiting. I want to hear Mathis, London Merritt, Justin Hill, Cedric Works, Damian Shanklin / Marion Dye, whichever commits first. For the last two, we need a big defensive end class in 25. They need a big. They've missed their number the last couple of years, plain and simple. But I will say this: just imagine how bleak things would be if they missed on Edric Houston. That would have been really bad. So yeah, they need a big class. I really like where they stand with Marion Dye, with Damian Shanklin. Ohio State's the dream school. Ohio State got in a little later than some others. Notre Dame is going to be tough to beat there, but it doesn't mean that Ohio State can't win that one. I know that Mika's been banging the drum for said works. I don't know where that one stands. I mean, Mathis is in the class. I mean, got to hold on to him. Got to hold on to him. London Merritt looks really positive. Justin Hill, I feel strongly for Ohio State. Said works is the one I'm not so sure about. Not from can he play, is he good? Yes. And yes, he can play and he's good. I just don't know where he fits in Ohio State's math. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if I have a great answer. I mean, and I generally try to defer a lot of the heavy lifting recruiting questions to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast because Mark has such a better read on these things because he runs the site and he does recruiting. I was at basketball last night. I'm doing 16 different things or whatever. So, jack of all trades, master of none. I feel that way sometimes when it comes to covering Ohio State recruiting because I'm not getting out to as many events as Mark does. I'm not talking to as many kids as Mark does. Not even close on that front. So those are my 2 cents. Those are my 2 cents on there. But let's punch that one off. Let's jump back into the live here for a second. Mika says that works, visits tomorrow. I mean, could he leave with an offer? Sure. But again, with the in-state kid, you better be damn sure that's who you want because if he tries to commit, what are you going to do? Nah, slow down. No. You gotta say yes or risk losing them for good. So is he somebody that they try to put off at least until camp? See a little bit more time there, see where they stand with some of these guys, see who's in the class, see how he develops. I mean, the recruiting calendar has sped up so much that we're here. I mean, we're not even to April 1. And it's feeling like guys that don't have offers are kind of in do or die time about getting them. And it's not even April 1. And it's just a difference. I mean, if you started following recruiting 5 years ago and this is what I got used to, what recruiting is today in 2024 versus what it was in 2019, dramatically different. Weren't talking about NIL, weren't talking about a lot of this type of stuff. So you just we'll just have to kind of see with that. Let me get here. Another Mika one. Are we expanding past 10 coaches? Yeah, Tom talked about it over at Huddle. What it is, and I don't remember who was that put the post out. It was one of the national guys. It's not per se that they're going to extend staffs to where you're going to have, because when I think of the 10 coaches, I think about guys that are able to go out and go recruit and do those types of things. This is a case of where they're talking about allowing GAs and quality control coaches or whatever analysts be able to on-field coach. Instead of coaching coaches, they'll be able to coach players. And this is going to happen. And I think that this is something that smaller schools will be much more apt to agree to than removing the cap on the 10 coaches and allowing Alabama to have 24 coaches and Ohio State to have 16 coaches and allow Georgia to have 18 coaches when they're struggling to make their own payroll. So will Ohio State take benefit when this goes through? Absolutely. Ohio State's not going to be like, nah, we're good. We're good with the old system, the old broken system. We're gonna ride with that. The second that they say that GAs and everybody else are able to do X, Y, and Z, they will be doing X, Y, and Z at Ohio State. I promise. Let's get through here. Let's see what else that we've got here. All right, well, nothing too much. Let's jump back in here to Jordan Kapler and his Tom or Hating Society. Oh, come on, Kevin. I have the voice of an angel, and that angel's name is Randy Newman. So you must love LA. I've heard your voice once before. No, you don't sound like Randy Newman. You sound like Randy Marsh. You sound like Randy Marsh from South Park. So there you go with that. Wingman Ted wants to get Mika on Southern Swing. It's a lot of schlepping around. I think that she would be more than fine going out there and asking all the questions and everything, but Southern Swing is a lot of schlepping around. I was talking to a friend about it, and they're not a they're a big Ohio State fan, but they're not a big recruiting fan. But they wanted to know about this 2-week trip that I take every year. I'm like, well, let me tell you. They're like, that sounds exhausting. I'm like, I know it is. It is. And I don't want to get in a car for a month after Southern Swing. I can assure you of that. I do not want to get back in a car at all because I have put in as much dashboard time as I am willing to go through. We're at an hour and 5, so we're getting here toward the end of it. I will put in one more call for any questions. If I missed your question, I apologize. I'm one man banding it. No producer for me today. I am my own producer, and while I do have new glasses that have been pointed out, as people have said so, and can see better with a better prescription, it still is a challenge to be able to catch everything on 2 different pages where I save questions and where live questions come in. We may go live again this week. I really do enjoy the live show. I enjoy talking with all of our great posters here. I do enjoy talking about how great Buckeye Huddle is as well. So we may go live again. We may go live on Friday. We'll see, because we'll be coming out of Thursday practice and getting set up for Student Appreciation Day on Sunday. So let's put it in pencil that I will go live on Friday. I'm not convinced that it's happening, but I'm leaning toward it. Heavily leaning toward another live show. Yeah, Mika saying that her wheelchair isn't conducive to travel, but it'd be a dream come true. I knew Mika was in a wheelchair. I wasn't not my business to bring it up, but I figured that she would have been like, yeah, it's not ideal. And on some days we hit 5 or 6 schools, and that is. And we get to a school, we're supposed to talk to a kid at 10:05, and we pull up at 10:02 because we had to just go across Jacksonville to get to this other school. It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's a labor of love, and we will have a lot of great product coming out of that. I do not have the dates of when Southern Swing will be, but I will keep you informed on that. And if you have a Buckeye owned company, or not even Buckeye owned, and you want to be a sponsor of the Big Me Kickoff or Southern Swing or any of our programming, reach out to me at kevin@buckeyegrove.com about sponsorship opportunities. Get on board the way that No Naturals did. And again, No Naturals, you can learn about them more in the scroll and in the show notes as well. You're watching us live. I maybe didn't get it in the show notes yet, but I will, after the show is over, I will get it into the show notes, so you can check them out. Use code Huddle10 for 10% off of your order, delivered discreetly right to your doorstep. You don't have to go somewhere to get this. To get Blissful Euphoria. What a band name. What a name for a football prospect. Blissful Euphoria. So if you want to sponsor anything, let me know. Once again, that is at kevin@buckeyegrove.com. But we've gone about an hour, and if we're going to go live on Friday, let's save a little bit for there. I'm not expecting the world to change. I'm not expecting to have huge updates on 6 or 7 kids, but just do know this. TJ Alford getting close to making his announcement. Landon Rink getting close to making his announcement. We will have time to talk about those coming up here soon as well. I have a feeling I'll be recording some stuff with Mark Givler in preparation for those announcements as well. But you can get all of that here at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. If you're listening on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, leave us a 5-star review. That certainly helps us out with distribution. If you're, again, on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. We just broke 20,000 in the last couple weeks. Our drive is to get up to 25,000 before the start of the football season. Only you can help us get there. Not only do you need to sign up for our YouTube channel, but get your friends too. Hit the bell. Don't miss a single thing on the channel. And, give us a thumbs up, because that helps us as well. Wingman Ted wanting to talk about the women's hockey dynasty. I mean, they are amazing. They are amazing. I know Ohio State women's pistol has won the Natty 4 years in a row, and that is awesome. I know Ohio State synchronized swimming basically is like the top end of the entire sport on the collegiate level and has won almost all of the national championships. But what Ohio State women's hockey is doing right now is incredible. And hats off to the program winning the national championship in the state of New Hampshire, a 1-0 win over Wisconsin in a thrilling game where Ohio State scored in the late third period and then pitched a clean sheet, the shutout, to get the championship. Ohio State's goaltender named most outstanding player of the Final Four. So very exciting. Build them their damn rink already. Build them their damn rink. The OSU ice rink as it stands is a very dated and tiny and not good venue. Build them that rink. I mean, I think that it's hard to sit there and say that Ohio State could take women's hockey up a notch or two, but I think if you put them in a state-of-the-art ice rink with, a couple thousand seats and you put the men and women there, I think that would put even more juice into a program that is the best. And Wisconsin is right there too. Ohio State won the Natty 2 years ago, lost to Wisconsin last year, and then got the Natty back this year. So give them whatever they want. Give them whatever they want. I'm here for it. So there you go, Wingman Ted. A little bit of talk about the women's hockey dynasty. I wish I knew more names over on that side. I do not. I did not even get to really watch the game because it was on ESPN Plus. I don't have ESPN Plus at the time. I just decided I needed to make some cuts, and ESPN Plus did not make the cut. Rod Farber said that the Dodgers extended Will Smith 10 years for $140 million. I have not seen that yet. I have not. I have my Twitter open, but I'm on my DM page because I've been talking to a couple people via DMs, and strangely enough, I've not heard from anybody during the show, but that works out fine as well. But we'll see. I'm excited for the start of baseball season tomorrow. Dodgers open against the Cardinals. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I was on Bleacher Report. He says, I'll find it. Again, I'm going to be done with the show in a minute, and then I'm going to get this posted to the podcasting channels, get our show notes put together a little bit more, and maybe take a nap. I don't know. It's getting a little late for a nap, but we'll go from there. But I want to thank everybody for being part of the show. I want to thank our friends over at No Naturals for their contributions to the event or to the show. If I didn't get to your question, we will do this again on Friday. I promise. Let's start getting back to where we have 200, 300, 400 people in the chat for these shows. I know we're not necessarily in the heaviest of times, but you want to talk about Ohio State. You want to talk about eating pickles. You want to talk about all that stuff, and you can do that here on the Big Me Kickoff. But until next time, thanks a lot. Have a great day, and I will talk to you very soon.